feeling like I'm dressed like a teacher today, but that's very apt for the video. Hey everyone, hi. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly, and today I am going to be sharing with you the best book you could possibly get yourself and read before or during, well, really before the first days of school. And for those who are veteran teachers, for those who know about this book, you're gonna be like, oh yes, Shelly, we know about that. But I really wanted to share it here. So if you're new to my channel, then hello. As I said, I'm Shelly, and I love, this channel is mostly a bookish channel. However, I am returning to work as a math and science teacher full-time. This is my first time returning with my own classroom in a couple of years. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little at sea. So anyways, if you are also a teacher and you love books and reading, then I really feel like you found the right place. I have been toying around with the idea of posting and creating a couple of teacher-related videos here, there, and everywhere about my journey and what I'm trying to accomplish and how I'm trying to accomplish that. So if you are here for it, if you're here for that journey, I would please subscribe. But also, if you are just supportive of this journey, I would really appreciate the feedback of a thumbs up. That would really be helpful for me. Kind of pivoting a teeny bit, or maybe adding a lane to this channel so that it's bookish, but also maybe talks a bit about teaching and the educator's journey. Anyways, I'm just gonna move on to let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So as I said, I'm a teacher. And I have taught before, but you know, I'm going back to work in a very full-time capacity. I was working full-time at a school, but the classroom was already set up. I walked in January, the classroom was set up, the procedures were already in place, and now I have a classroom of my own. Hi, Boo. There is so much to think about. There is so much to think about when you are a teacher. I was teaching before this moment. I taught in my own classroom for public school for several years. I took some time off when I was in graduate school and during the pandemic, and you probably hear my child pretending that he is fighting off some zombies or whatever he's fighting off, so I'm gonna shut the door. So I returned to teaching in January. What happened is that I was walking into someone else's classroom. I was co-teaching with another teacher. She was amazing, and she had so much set up in the classroom. Procedures were already in place. The classroom was already sort of there and set up and beautiful and well organized. And so as I was like, oh my goodness, I'm thinking about how to set up my classroom. I'm thinking about what I should have in place by the first days of school. And to be totally honest with you, I was a little bit at sea. I was like, where do I start? I don't know. I really don't know. So this is what I decided. I was like, oh yeah, there's that book that was so helpful and that was so practical. And it is the book that I think every new and veteran teacher ought to revisit or visit for the first time if you're new, before the first days of school. And it is actually called The First Days of School and it's How to Be an Effective Teacher by Henry K. Wong and Rosemary T. Wong. Now this is the 5th edition. I previously had an older edition. I think I had the 2nd or 3rd edition before. This is a very practical guide to setting up your classroom, the things that you want to be thinking about, the things you want to be focusing on as you are getting ready for school. So here are some of the things that I found incredibly helpful. On page 111, there is a whole section about before school begins. There is, if I have time, I have a little bit of clerical, technical difficulties at the moment with my school. So I don't know if I'm going to I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be able to do this, but with all of my best of intentions, I would love to do this before school actually starts, and it's to send a letter home. So tell parents or guardians, or I might have this in their first day of school folder, a letter about me. So tell parents and guardians about, you know, myself and that I'm looking forward to having their kiddo in my class. Also, though, if I give this on the first day of school, these are all the things that you have to think about, right? This is all of the stuff that you have to think about. It's like, if I write a letter before school starts, then I can include the following: the date of the open house, why it's important to attend, my homework and grading, and classroom procedures and policies. However, if I give it to them on the first day of school, this is like the nitty gritty. This is like the stuff that most teachers do. You're doing it, and in some ways you have people to talk to if you're so lucky, and I do have people to talk to. But if you're not so lucky and you maybe don't have a friendly staff or face as you're thinking about this stuff, it can be really difficult. It can be really difficult. So if I am mailing a letter home, I can like remind them about the open house dates and how I'm so excited to meet them. And that can be the tone of the letter, right? However, if I send a letter out on the first day or during open house, I could just say a more general, I wouldn't want to add like an open house dates, because then it would just seem like I didn't think it through. So instead, I would just, you know, be like, you know, I'm so excited that you're here. Here's my policies and procedures. I feel like my lighting is strange. Shelly, focus. Here are my policies. I'm going to change it in just a moment. I feel like all the light is coming right here and I don't know why. Okay, I'm going to do that after I talk about this. Include information. So instead, I might do like a homework policy, my grading policy, classroom procedures that I feel like are really, really important. And then also include materials I want them to have when they actually, so if I give it to them on open house, then the materials I want them to have at the first day of, or during the first day of school, the actual instructional day of school. There's also things that you can do is like send a welcome postcard, tell students who you are, calling parents as just like an introduction, the ones that maybe didn't attend open house during, I think my open house is in the morning, so by the afternoon I will know who attended open house or not, and those who didn't, I can make a phone call and introduce myself on that day so that I connect with all of my students that day. My classroom, very luckily, very, very, very luckily, is not very big, so I feel like this is very doable for a like an upper elementary school teacher, because my class is not going to be bombarded with hundreds and hundreds of students. It would be a noble thing to do if you have, before when I taught public school, middle school, I had over 100 students that I felt like I really wanted to connect with, and doing a task like connecting with each and every one of them, sending a personalized letter to each and every one of them, or even addressing 100 envelopes was quite the task. So often I relied on a phone call, wanting to introduce myself, having that positive interaction with parents as my first interaction, and starting the year off on a really good foot. So I am not sure which way I'm going to go. Some of it is going to be incumbent upon whether or not I can access my students' information, and that is just totally clerical, behind the scenes, getting set up with a new school and so on. I really loved that part on page 111. In the classroom that I was with back in the last school year, the teacher did such a fantastic job labeling everything, so I didn't have to ask her where things were at. Paper clips, tacks like wall tacks to post things, dry erase markers. Everything had its own spot, and I'm hoping to be able to do that in my classroom, to at least have labels for where everything goes, partly for me, but also for anybody who is in the classroom, the students or visitors, substitute teachers, that they know where things are. I haven't done that previously, labeled everything where everything goes. And so I would really, it's going to be a goal of mine as I set up my classroom, that I have made labels and I figure out where I want things to go, especially as I'm prepping my classroom. Preparing wall spaces. I've already started this with some math posters that I've written by hand. If I'm brave, I will show them to you. But yeah, you know, just having a consistent place for listing the day's agendas, the opening assignment, homework, And then display the feature, topic, theme, chapter, or skill that you're learning. But yeah, just having a consistent place where I'm listing everything. That is really important. Display prominent classroom rules. Display classroom rules in a prominent place. That's what it says. You can relocate it after the first week. So maybe it's going to be right there in front of everybody's faces, what I expect out of them and what the morning procedure is, and so on and so forth. Like right there in the front of the classroom. And then I can move it as the days progress. So we're really thinking about that first day of school to really like pack a punch, to make the most impact and to be the most effective. I also love, this is preparing your wall space, by the way. It's on page 106. Post procedures, duties, calendar, clock, emergency information, maps, schedules, menus, charts, decorations, birthdays, student work. So that's some of the things that you might want to think about, or that I am going to be thinking about, just to make things look pretty. And I've already been to my classroom a couple of times. I know what it looks like, and it does look very pretty already. So I'm really glad about that. Preparing the teacher areas, preparing the bookcases, preparing the teaching materials. Again, I want to label things. I think I might need some organizational bins to help with where I keep everything, but I'm hoping to keep them right there, like sort of out in the open so that we can see where things go and we know where things are gonna go. My favorite part of this book is the section on why procedures are important and what to think about when it comes to procedures. Why are procedures important? They define the expectations. It makes the classroom more effective. And it helps everyone function and learn in a more structured way. I also just love that it minimizes wasting time and it minimizes frustration. There is an example of a poster of like, what do I do next? And what I loved about this what do I do next poster is that it gives students something that they can do while they're finished and waiting for the next project. So whether it be memorizing something that we're supposed to be memorizing that week, I know that I'm going to be, the school I'm teaching at, I think of it as, it goes back to like old school values. And so I'm going to be teaching handwriting. And so I want to be able to think through some of the things that I would like the students to, like I've thought it through, like this is what you're going to do next if you don't know what to do, instead of scrambling to figure out what the students want to do. So some of my ideas are practice your handwriting. Practice your handwriting with your spelling words. Practice the memorization for this week. Work on your multiplication facts. Things like that. To have a poster of like, if you don't know what to do next, here are some things that you can do. And then also just, there's a whole list of things, procedures that one ought to be thinking about before school starts. How to enter the classroom, what to do when they do enter the classroom, what to do if they're tardy, where to find the assignment, what to do when you want their attention, how a paper is to be done. I've been thinking a lot about this. Where you want a paper placed, what to do when you finish your work early, what to do if you want to sharpen your pencil, how to use electronic media in the classroom, if there is any. I actually don't think that the students are assigned anything, which is a wonderful benefit to me, because sometimes technology is a double-edged sword, just in my humble opinion. Where to find assignments if they have been absent, if the student has been absent, what to do when they have a question, what to do when they need to go to the restroom, what to do if they have a personal emergency, what to do upon dismissal of class, and what to do when they hear an emergency alert signal. And there's a lot of ways one can do that. I definitely am going to be, my plan is to try a signal method. So for example, if they want to sharpen their pencil, my last class would make a fist and raise it in the air. And so that meant, that was their signal to say that they needed to sharpen their pencil. So I think if a student is done with their math work, I want them to raise their paper in the air, and then I either give them the signal that they can turn it in, or I can tell them that they can wait a minute, or I can go and collect it myself. But instead of the student coming up to my desk and disrupting class or bothering others or using that to distract others, I want them to have a procedure of what to do when they're done with their classwork. And also, you know, sharpening their pencil or needing to go to the restroom. I know that this was like, they needed to go to the restroom because it was like they're crossing their legs and they needed to go and get their business done. Or a W for water. So students would raise their hand in the air, and instead of it being a verbal thing where they're perhaps disrupting class or distracting the class, it's just something that is very quiet and yet gets the job done. And then I can give them like a nod, and it doesn't always have to be verbal. It can be a nonverbal communication, which often helps with keeping the class very organized. And so anyways, these are some of the things that I've been thinking about. And then the book also does a wonderful job showing posters of what procedures look like. I know I definitely want class jobs. So, and then jobs that can be swapped out. And then also, procedures for the end of the day, things like that. What was I gonna say? Some of it is repetitive, and some of it is maybe a little bit like, oh, do you really need, sometimes I think when I was a younger teacher, I was like, do I really need to think about that? And then you realize, yes, oh my goodness, yes you do. And then it's also not just for the comfort of me, but it's for the comfort of the students. If you, instead of them having maybe an anxiety moment or having a moment where they're just at sea or unsure, like you're front loading them with what you're expecting and what you're expecting from their behavior. And it's just a wonderful way to start the classroom and to start the class in the year and what we want from our day. And so I just wanted to share with y'all that I'm really, really, really enjoying looking through this. It's giving me a lot of ideas, and I am definitely going to I just realized that there was like pictures of hand signals, so maybe I can find a download of that, cut them out, and then our hand signals could be posted before the first day, and so that as a reminder, as we practice them for that first week, they're up there visually, not just for me, but for the students. Because, as a returning teacher who doesn't have everything perfectly laid out or anything like that, I think that, it's something that I have to remind myself that we need to practice, that this is practice, that this is something that we need to learn. We will get in a routine together. And, a book that is just so encouraging and positive, affirming to like where I should have my mind focused on, especially for those first days, and that teaching procedures is work well done. It is work worth doing. Just these lovely and incredible reminders. Oh gosh, there's ways to give students feedback, personalized and as a group. Wonderful, wonderful things. Oh, there's even you flip to any page and you're like, wow, this is fantastic. Like on page 164, procedures to rehearse with students. And it's just like, it's got everything. It's got everything there. Changing in groups, asking a question, responding to a fire drill, responding to an earthquake, saying thank you. Little things, just being on top of it and thinking about it beforehand and getting it in my mind beforehand is just a fantastic way to get myself together as I'm about to start my teaching journey once again. So anyways, that's it for me. Teachers out there or non-teachers out there, or people who have had teachers out there, or teachers yourselves, just let me know, what are some of the things that you remember from your teaching days or from your student days, effective things that your teacher did that gave you comfort, things that your teacher did that made you feel really special. I would love to know, because I am very determined this year to conquer and to be an effective teacher. It's my goal this year to be incredibly, it is every year, but I feel like I have a renewed spirit and an energy towards this profession, and that I'm so excited to be teaching my students, and I'm just so excited to meet them, and I'm just really, really grateful and excited for this opportunity, and I want to make sure that I am being the most effective when the students are open and fresh for the year and maybe are coming to the year with this kind of excitement. And if they're reluctant, then, I've got tricks for that too. Not tricks, but, techniques and ways to build relationships with students. But anyways, I guess that's it. So just, tell me about your school days, moments that you felt like were incredibly effective or were really, really life-affirming for you, or that you remember being a really positive experience. I would love to know that. And if you're a teacher, maybe you share share a technique or a trick of yours that has just worked incredibly well for you. I would love to know that. As promised, I wanted to come back and show you some of the posters that I made, some of the decisions that I have made, and give you a bit of an update. So I started off with some math posters. And I have rounding whole numbers, which there is a little saying that, so you locate the rounding digit, check the digit to the right, 5 or more up the score, 4 or less, let it rest. And that was really helpful when I was teaching math at my other school. And so I wanted the little phrase there and have it as a poster to hang. And then I made one that was millions, just place value and how to say things in standard and word form and in expanded form. And what was really helpful in making these posters was a large T-square that I actually have I own a T-square. So I'll show that to you as well. Actually, let me go get that. So here's my very large T-square. It's actually my husband's T-square, but he kindly lets me use it. What is his is mine, though he might not agree. I've been able to already look around at my classroom, and so I know that for any type of, for most age groups, transitions can be quite difficult. And so I wanted a transitions poster. This is for transitions, tidy up desk. Show you are ready with a thumbs up so that it's nonverbal instead of being like, I'm ready, because that can gather, that can be kind of annoying. With permission, so my permission, gather materials, whether it be for lunch or they're switching their class from one to another. And then I'll have them gather their materials and then line up. And actually, I don't know if I brought it with me, but I have some blue tape, and I might actually tape where I want the students to line up and how far apart on the floor, because I know I have 15 students, and then I have the other 6th grade class, which has 16 students. And so immediately I can just have them standing where I need them to stand and how far apart. And so that transitions are going to be a lot smoother. That's my plan for it. So having tape on my floor so that they know where to stand when they line up. And if I'm very organized, I might number the tape so that I could be like, switch from number 2 to number 7 if, those kids are not behaving themselves. I also have a good morning procedures poster, which I really thought would be a great way to just make sure that I start off each class period correctly. And I might have I have some space underneath that poster, and once I figure out the breakfast routine, I might have a breakfast routine poster, like if you're gonna get breakfast, and so I can just add it to the same poster. Otherwise I might just cut it short so I don't have a lot of empty space down below. And then I also have a hand signals poster. I got off of Teacher Pay Teachers, which is a website that has a lot of free resources along with paid resources. But I wanted to, in my class that I left, the teacher was so wonderful and taught the kids hand signals. And it was so useful. And so I'm having a hand signals poster for what I need. So whether they have a question and they need to go to the restroom, it's not a verbal, not a verbal thing. And so I want to have these things up at the front of the class or where everyone can see them very easily, especially for the first week of school or first couple of weeks as we're learning our new routines and what they need from me. I thought it would be very helpful to have a hand signals poster so that we can communicate non-verbally, and that will help with the noise level of the class. I do like a quieter classroom. My preference is a quieter classroom. It doesn't need to be absolutely silent, but I like a quieter classroom, and I don't like calling out at all. And so just having some procedures and posters in place to help me teach the kids what I expect out of them is going to be very helpful. Finally, one of the things that I am going to build into my schedule which I don't know if I've done this before. I think maybe I intuited it before, but I'm attempting to be a little more intentional. I want to build in before every transition, time to practice. Practicing lining up quietly. Practicing some of the things that I expect out of my class. I did practice certain things before, like what does respect look like? And I think that I would focus on that and what is politeness and what does manners look like? But I have that in my mind, that I want to practice, but I actually want to build that into my schedule for the first couple of days so that we are practicing lining up and that I can use those opportunities for praise and rewards, or for redirection and correction if it need be. But I just think that just being able to have that in my control to build into my own first couple of days of school, and especially as I'm getting to know the students, to have that, written down in my schedule to actually practice and to give myself anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes to practice, getting ready for a transition, practice lining up, practice, the hand signals for when you need to use the restroom or sharpen a pencil, and to be really adamant about this is how we are going to be running as a classroom. So I really, just some of the things that I have been thinking about, and then a couple of things that I might save for a little bit later on, but I know the students have to memorize certain things. So maybe doing a verse virtuoso when they memorize all of their verses, so we can praise the students who have done great job memorizing things, or a handwriting hero, students that have beautiful and incredible handwriting, and to just make sure that we're celebrating the little things. And then my last one was, books we love, I think. And so when a student has finished a book, they can fill out what they read and whether they recommend it or not, so that we're constantly creating a classroom with book recommendations. These are more like ideals that I'm hoping to do. And then math. What is it? What did I come up with? Math something. I can't remember now. Like math whizzes or something like that. And so just little challenges so that if they meet that challenge, like learning all their multiplication tables and being able to say it perfectly without any kind of falter. I thought about doing that because, even as you're getting into the upper grades, just knowing your math tables, having those memorized is so helpful when you're getting into more difficult math. So, just having a challenge, these are again ideas, but having a challenge that when the students meet it, there's some way to celebrate, and to celebrate it right in the classroom on a poster or on the board or on the walls somewhere visible, so that we're celebrating our triumphs, and creating a classroom that is celebrating growth is really important to me. So that's it for me. I hope that seeing at least my posters, seeing my posters in the way that I'm prepping is some way helpful. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.